Unmuted. And video's on.
Welcome back. It's been a few months. So let's do the call to order.
Carl's here.
Rylander's here.
More here.
More here. So our first agenda item is Mary Gardner, the oath.
Oath of office. Morning. Because I talked fast, I'll give you that to read off of. Come up here.
Follow you?
Hmm?
Follow you here?
Yes, if I could get you to raise your right hand. And then repeat after me. I state your name,
Mary Gardner,
further and affirm that I will faithfully support the constitutions and laws of the United States of America.
oh, I'm supposed to repeat.
Yes, and that's why I gave you this.
Yeah. Swear affirm that I will faithfully support the Constitution and laws of the United States of America
And the state of Oregon and the charter ordinances and resolutions of the city of Yamhill.
and the state of Oregon and the charter ordinances and resolutions of the city of Yamhill.
And I will perform the duties of planning commissioner for the city of Yamhill
And I will perform the duties of planning commissioner for the city of Yamhill
to the best of my ability, so long as I may continue in that capacity.
for the best of my ability, so long as I may continue in that capacity.
All right, congratulations, Mary. We've got you on the planning commission. Go ahead and have a seat.
Welcome. Thank you. Thank you.
Not enough hands.
So before we get to public comment, I didn't know if maybe Mary would tell us a little about yourself, so you learn who you are.
I was born in my grandmother Margaret Maggie Bernard's front bedroom 3 miles from here. And proceeded to go to college at Western. Graduated from Yamhill Carleton, went to Western. And my teaching career for 30 years was in St. Helens. Junior high, high school, and high school counselor. And I retired to Orcas Island for 23 years after my husband and I retired from our jobs in 99 and 2000. He died in 22, and I knew I had to leave the island. I couldn't stay on my own. So with tons of relatives, I hate to drop names, Bernards, Hermans, all these people, Juneman, my maiden name. And so I just put the word out. I said, we have to leave the island, the dog and I, find me a house, a lot, someplace to move to. And so 6 months later, the end of July, on a 102-degree day here in 22, the moving truck took me. And because Memorial Day weekend, a cousin in McMinnville said, hey, there's a 4-bedroom house and it's in Yamhill and there's room. I owned a quilt business on Orcas Island. There was no quilt store. So I was a cottage industry and I had no intention in retirement to run a business. So I said to my husband, you do the books, I know fabric, and we'll just make it happen. So I put the word out amongst everybody. And the house was found and I needed a 4-bedroom, so I had a place for sewing machines and stuff like that that quilters use. And I moved into the house on the corner of 3rd and Baum, the end of July, 3 years ago. And here I am.
Okay, well, welcome.
Thanks.
We appreciate your willingness to step up and volunteer.
Hey, I know about warm bodies. I was on planning commission for a number of years at City of St. Helens.
Okay.
And I also worked for 7 years for the St. Helens Police Department because in the early 70s, they were wanting women because none of them wanted to do rape and child crime investigations. So I was two first women who stepped up and said, okay, I'll work swings and graveyards and teach school. And at that time, it was before union. So I worked full-time in the summer, giving road officers their vacations. So I learned a lot about the city and therefore then at some point was asked to be on the city planning commission. And that was also, I love learning, and that was also a great learning experience about where I lived. And so I guess I would say I'm civic minded and I taught civics. So when I saw it advertised open, I said, well, I can do a couple meetings.
You have experience, that'll help us out.
Well, we don't know. That's very old experience. We're talking the 70s here.
All right, so we'll get started with I guess we should do introductions real quick. Or did you see name? You saw our names, I guess.
I'm
You think I can see that far
I'm
out?
Ken Moore.
Hi.
I'm just delighted you're here.
Okay,
A teacher for 30 years, that just won my heart right there.
I loved it. It was the
Yeah.
best career in the world. I would have gotten fired if I were working with adults. But kids were fun. Teenagers were wonderful. The energy, that was a great career. And when I left in 99, everybody said at my retirement party, Mary, you're having too much fun. Why are you leaving? Because I started and said, I'm going to give 30 years to kids. After that, there's tons of things I can do. So,
Sean Freilinger, I actually work for the state of Oregon and I've been in Yamhill since 21, the end of.
what's your capacity with the state of Oregon?
I manage a software development team
Okay,
for the Oregon legislature.
okay.
Say that again, Sean, you manage what?
Manage a software development team for the Oregon
I
legislature.
didn't quite catch it all, say it again.
That's software.
Software.
Software, okay.
Software development team at the Oregon legislature. So all the software they have in the building, my team has written a lot of it.
Yeah,
Well, it says Lyndon, but I go by Len, so
What's up?
Lyndon Carl. I'm retired and I'm glad to see that you're here. That's all I
it's a
got.
local Carl family.
Well, it depends. There's some in Mac and there was some here.
Yeah,
And
yeah, that's what.
I grew up in Yamhill.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll get started with public comment. We encourage all citizens to comment on any city business except land use applications. This is not a dialogue platform. Comments shall be limited to 5 minutes. If you request special accommodations, let us know. First on the list is Robert.
Oh, yeah, thank you. So, sorry, I'm not too prepared. I got caught off guard about tonight's meeting. But I have two questions that might be answered sometime later. The first question is on a piece of property on South Olive Street that was relegated a single mobile home unit, now has 2 mobile home units on it. Address is 325 South Olive Street is one. And 355, right next door on the same piece of property, South Olive Street. My question is, how did both these mobile homes be on the same lot when only one was provided a permit to build? And while I'm on the subject of building, I don't know, some of you might know John Petvido, who used to have the gas station across the street where the gas station was built, he had a home outside of town. Actually in town at the last speed sign that ends the city of Yamhill. So it's actually in the city of Yamhill. And this property has a brand new home on it. I sent Angie all these pictures by email. Sorry for the lateness, but she has copies of what I'm talking about. This home has no sidewalk. It's been completed for at least 6 months, if not longer. And I'm just wondering why it has no sidewalk, whether they paid a deposit and the city was supposed to put one in, or they opted to not put one in. But those are my 2 questions. Thank you so much.
Patty?
Okay, so I have to explain, well, first I'm Patty Perrin, 215 North Maple Street. I am on council, but I am here as a resident, not as a council member, okay? So I received an email from somebody that I don't know over on First, wanting to know why the city, or if the city has an ordinance regarding, and I'm going to use the word abandoned homes and unkept properties. And so I looked it up, and there is ordinances associated with the unkept properties, but nothing associated with abandoned homes. And there's multiple in town. So is there, I guess what I'm looking for is potentially for the planning commission to do some kind of an ordinance in regards to homes that are left abandoned, basically. And, you know, a time frame before something has to be done with those. So that's number one. The other one is, why has the Downtown Association never, and maybe this is for council, why the Downtown Association, because they want to, and I'm going to say, use the word beautify, whether it be the downtown or within the city, why they would not be involved with properties that are unkept. And that even goes for the strip, whatever that's called, in front of a home, where it's on the other side of the sidewalk, which is the property's owner's responsibility to be kept up. But there are numerous homes within the city that don't do that. In fact, I've seen our public works guys taking care of that. And then the other one is the lighting ordinance. Am I going off the deep end when I say that that was approved by city council, or was it not? You all remember?
It was tabled. I do. I was at both meetings.
Really?
It was. We were told by Doug Rooks that the new ordinance or the new legislative amendments may need changes to it. And so at the time of the second reading, you guys opted not to continue with it at that point.
I must have been off in left field because I don't remember that at all. So is this something that planning is
So-
supposed to be addressing, or no?
I'm sorry, I kind of spoke out of turn. We really shouldn't be addressing it during public comment, but I'm happy to talk with you about it after.
Okay.
the meeting.
And the only reason that I say that is because I talked with, you know, a neighbor up there, up the road, and the Shell station is still leaving their lights on all night long. So that's it. Thanks much.
So
I'll just say, a lot of these are issues, probably enforcement issues.
Right.
And so, I need to find out, I don't think as the planning commission, we have jurisdictions for enforcement, but it's something we can raise. I would say both of these are things that for both of your stuff should probably be brought up to city council.
Okay,
And I don't know what the,
I would start at City Hall, because you can get in a lot of answers to these questions, rather than coming to council and planning.
okay.
But
yeah.
yes, you would start with, you're wanting an ordinance, you would start with council.
but actually, like, talking about the ordinance is not a bad thing to give us that feedback now, because we're gonna have an open discussion about prepping for a meeting we're having next week. So that's a good topic for us to add to our list.
Okay.
Okay. New business, TGM grant application update. Walt?
Yes, good evening, everyone. I got a call from the mayor last Wednesday about updating or submitting the TGM grant application. Took a little while to get all the paperwork through DLCD, set things up, but I'm about halfway done with the application as of this afternoon. Submittal date is 11:59 p.m. on the 31st. I have the resolution from the council. What I need to, and I mentioned this to the mayor, that downtown groups, development groups, school district, whatever, letters of support would be very helpful. And that was probably the only area that we fell down a little bit on the previous application. But I'm going to need to get everything put together by the 31st, and then I will submit it.
So for the benefit of everyone here and some of our new members, can you explain what the TGM grant is?
Okay, thank you. Excellent. TGM stands for Transportation and Growth Management. It's a joint program run by Department of Transportation and the Department of Land Conservation and Development. It's a way that they tie in traffic and transportation issues with land use. What we're applying for is what is called a transportation system plan update. Our current plan was put together in year 2000, and it's in our comprehensive plan, but it's not very comprehensive. It is basically a set of policies or objectives that the city wants to pursue. It talks about what you would expect to talk about, safe pedestrian traffic, make sure there's calming of vehicles through town, that sort of thing. But there's no data in there. There's no analysis of traffic patterns, where there's intersection issues, etc. So what this grant will do, if we are awarded the grant, they will go out and actually go through a process of getting all the background data on traffic counts, study intersections, look at policies we have, address the whole big scope of transportation, including pedestrians, bicycles, intercity and intracity transportation, mobility access, issues including what to do with kids on access and also seniors. So it's a very comprehensive project. Generally, these are about a over $200,000 project. A consultant is selected through the grant program, and the city has a local match, but we already have that through the system development charge. So we're pretty much to the point of just getting the application done and submitting it and keeping our fingers crossed.
Okay, thank you. And for Mary's sake, I think most of us all know this, but we've had lots of conversations around the fact that we have two highways joining together in downtown. Kids are crossing to go to schools. There's just lots of questions about that. So this would help us get some of the data to support some of the concerns we have.
Correct.
And it's good to come up to speed on that because I was very familiar with LCDC, but having been out of state, living on an island for 25 years, I didn't know what kinds of elements were still part of Oregon government active that affect small towns and transportation.
All right.
May I add something? Well, I just want to let you know, I did reach out to the Yamhill Downtown Association today, and they said they'd be happy to write a letter of support and get it to me by the 28th. So you'll have it in time for the submission. And I'm working on reaching out to the superintendent of the schools as well.
Oh, that's excellent. That was probably one of the missing pieces of the puzzle last time. We almost got the grant last time, but we fell just a little bit short. Understand we're in Region 2 with ODOT. It's very competitive. This is the biggest region, so we're competing with some big cities. However, I think they recognize the need that Yamhill needs a updated TSP after 25 years, and also the fact that we successfully completed that grant with DLCD is very helpful. So I will let the Planning Commission know how it goes.
Okay.
John, YNA can submit too if you'd like.
Oh, yeah, the Yamhill Neighborhood Association, would that be beneficial?
Actually, that would be very good because one of the things I'm focusing on is pedestrian access to the downtown and also a safe access to the downtown. Also recognizing that we're working on a master parks plan, and that's something else that needs to be considered. So yes, a letter from the neighborhood association would be very beneficial.
Thank you, Robert. That's good.
And Robert, gotta have it next week.
I'll get it to you in the next couple of days.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, thank you.
All right. So, we haven't met for the last few months because we haven't really had any direction and marching orders from the city council. So, we've talked about some things. And so next week we're having a meeting with the city council to talk about priorities, their priorities and how it impacts us. And so I thought it might be good for us to have a session right now to talk about brainstorming ideas and potential goals that we would like to put forward as priorities for us, so that we have some input. So, looks like Angie has provided the mission statement that the council has come up with and their priorities for 2025. So I guess the first thing we need to do is just, I think, start brainstorming around ideas of things. And I can start. I know that I've mentioned before that part of my concern with the new gas station was there was lots of discussion about what we want our city, does this fit into our city? We don't really have, what does it mean to fit into the city? There's really not a definition. And I'm feeling like we need to have some goal of what we're trying to accomplish there, so that when we get a new downtown business or something coming in, we have some guidelines of this is the direction we want our town to go. This is what we're looking for. And we can make some of those decisions with something to back it up. I think we talked a little bit about the fact that we didn't have anything, because we have to follow the ordinances and and we didn't have anything in there for that. So it's hard to hold somebody accountable to that when that doesn't exist.
Well, Sean, that makes sense to me. Walt was nervous to keep in the phrase relating to the part of downtown that's designated, what's that designation?
Central business.
Yeah, Central Business District, thank you. Where it would be, I don't know the exact phrase, but it was like in keeping with what we already have. And that's pretty nebulous. And what Walt was saying, if that'll fly with the state, approval, he didn't know, but he would submit it. And what the state, I think, is concerned about is businesses that want to come in not having a playing field they understand. And so if we define something better, it might be more palatable to those concerns. Does that make sense? Well,
Yes, it does. One thing I'd like to add to that is that there was some changes with our basically we have a new development code. And before I get too far afield, I'd like to take a real close look on the final copy. If I recall, there were some changes on how to look at buildings, percentage of glass facing a street. In other words, those are very helpful with a developer looking at what the building will look like and what the city is expecting. They still have a lot of flexibility, but at least it gives them something to work with. The difficulty we had in the prior code was that needs to match the pattern, and without something definitive, it's the planning commission will just go around in circles trying to debate what is acceptable. So I believe some of those changes were incorporated in the new code language, and I'd like to go ahead and kind of look at that a little bit closer. But I think maybe just to follow up to see if we need to tweak that would be probably appropriate. But from what I recall, it really gave some pretty good guidance.
my recollection was that it was struck.
It was. Okay, I read the earlier version. That's what I'm saying. I'm playing catch up right now, gentlemen.
Yeah, it was struck. And yeah, you weren't here.
And ma'am?
You weren't here when I went, wait a minute, let's keep this in. But I thought you expressed some, or maybe we just said, maybe Walt didn't like that earlier because it was too wishy-washy. But anyway, we need to get to the bottom of that.
So
Yeah.
I guess, and right now, we're just coming up with ideas that we want to take to city council to say, these are things we want to work on, or that we think would be beneficial for us to work on. And so this is one of them that I thought we should look at.
The top of the list, their top priority is economic development.
Yeah.
So I thought it might be good to refresh our memories on what we have been doing, and for Mary, about these different committees that used to be associated with the planning commission, but I think they got moved to the city council, I think appropriately. One of them was the economic development committee, correct?
Yeah.
And they are a group of people, volunteers, that look for one thing, changing the ordinances to make it more friendly for economic development. And that, in a large part, was done by this recent grant. We had some
Correct.
consultants that came in and rewrote our code around that very thing. So I think we feel like our job of having code that's friendly to economic development in some ways is done.
Yeah. I think the revitalizing the downtown area kind of falls into the one that we just discussed. That's, I think, part of the economic development as well.
But what
But
about the historical?
Yeah, then the historical-
What is that name of that committee?
I don't remember.
Robert?
Can you refresh our memory? The historical, there was a committee to look at historical aspects.
Historical building.
Yeah, well, that was all that was the beginning of the Economic Development Committee originally. And it got pushed to the city. The city took over the historical aspect of it. What they've done with it, I have no idea.
It's actually the economic development committee it's under their umbrella.
Okay.
Yeah.
In their resolution.
So
So
Mary-
then it got moved back to the Economic Development Committee, but it's really, it's sort of on the back burner because as it's noted here, top priority includes, supporting local businesses, revitalizing the downtown area and attracting new businesses. Those are the three huge goals that the, Economic Development Committee has to attain. And attracting new businesses is a feat in itself. So,
Yeah.
but down the road would be the historical aspect of the downtown central business district as a whole.
Maybe one of the ways we could do this brainstorming is we go through each of the goals and come up with ideas.
I wanted to define the playing field for Mary Alice one at a time. And that is, what is the Yamhill Downtown Association? That's a group of businesses that has really no connection to the city. It's kind of like our local chamber of commerce,
Right.
correct?
Yeah,
Okay,
that's my understanding.
is that?
My question is there currently any EDC block grant or grant in the process?
Well, do you want to speak to,
Well, that's actually the economic development, and I believe they were working at the, what is it called, small town? Can you help me out, Robert? The small cities or
Main Street.
Main Street,
Main
Oregon
Street.
Main Street, I'm sorry.
Through the Yamhill Downtown Association, who is actually partnered with Oregon Main Street, who is a funding aspect. They were going to provide certain grants and certain monies for economic development, revitalization of buildings on an individual case-by-case basis. But to answer her question, there is no block grant given to the Economic Development Committee for any general funding.
Right, and so I'm assuming city council will be having a similar kind of discussion with them,
Yes.
and so.
They will be included on the same work session.
Oh, are they gonna be there too?
Mhm.
Okay, good, all right.
It'll be a jam session.
All right. So are there any other ordinance, like, we were discussing that we passed the new code, that was a step in the direction of economic development. Is there anything else that we can think of that would be, something that to contribute for assisting with that?
with economic development or any
Yeah.
of the goals?
Well, let's start with economic
Okay.
development, just go down the list.
We are in process of updating our parks master plan with
Mm-hmm.
economic development. That's one of their, I think, one of their goals was parks or,
And who is updating that plan?
right now, it's through AKS. So we had one meeting.
Consultant,
Yeah,
Mhm.
consultants that we
AKS.
hire. Engineers.
Yes,
and I'm assuming that'll come through us when eventually, because it's part of the comprehensive plan, right?
Correct. Correct.
Is this expansion of current parks or adding parks?
it's gonna encompass all of the parks. So it's updating the master plan for the parks.
So both, I would say,
Yeah.
is the answer.
Yeah, what, identifying what our need is.
And they'll come back with a plan to be approved by city council, or does that come to the plan commission?
Actually, that will go through the planning commission because there will be an amendment to the comprehensive plan. And the final determination obviously goes to the council.
Right. Right, goal number 2 is the water stability, which we're all probably very aware of, it's been a topic.
We
It's,
were awarded the Merkley grant. I don't know if you guys know
Oh.
that. We finally are officially awarded it, so we should be seeing funding for that shortly.
so what's that gonna be used for?
For studying, the feasibility studies on what's the best way to go about getting other water sources.
Okay,
AKS is getting the money of $192,000 on the Merkley grant to do 3 studies. One is the Bonnie Reservoir feed for raw water, the other is the McMinnville tie, and the other is the Hillsborough tie. Both of those 3, all 3 studies are going through AKS. We realize which is the most economical and most sought after at this point.
okay, good. So Walt, is there anything that, from a code perspective, that you see that we should consider regarding the water?
I can't think of anything regarding water other than what we already have. You have to make a connection to the water and sewer system. And that's probably the extent of it. This is really a public works and finance issue for the city, not so much planning. However, I'm not sure where you're at with your master plans for sewer and water. So that might be something just to follow up on. And those are incorporated in your comprehensive plan as well. But with regard to specific code language, other than what you have, which is connect, I can't think of anything off the top of my head.
So forgive my ignorance if this is a question that is obvious, but when it comes to approving new subdivisions and developments, is there anything from a regulatory standpoint that we could have in there to say that it has to meet? Is there anything missing that we could add to help say that the water supply needs to be available before that happens?
Actually, part of the approval process is that you have adequate water before you can approve it, and also adequate sewage before you approve it. And there's a storm drain plan that can accommodate runoff. I rely on the city engineer and public works to provide that information for staff reports. If there is an issue that they cannot supply it, then we get into this area of moratoriums. And I get a little nervous with that. But one of the things you need to do is just kind of plan for the water, which it looks like you're taking a good first step here. And that's really critical.
What's that first step, Paul?
The grant. and the
Yeah,
stuff.
the grant, that's a
The
real.
AKS that's working on it, what to like.
Yeah, I mean, you need to know what your options are before you can proceed. You want to get ahead of the curve and have a source before it becomes a moratorium situation. Because at that stage, you have a very limited amount of time to correct the issue.
I forget when you came, Sean, but the subdivision.
It was already approved and coming in.
Yeah, okay. So the problem was that our criteria were that there be sufficient water.
Right.
And the engineers are saying there's sufficient water.
Sure.
And the city engineer,
Utility.
Public Works
Public Works.
was saying there's enough water. And people in the community were going, there's not enough water. And people on council were going, there's not enough water. I'm voting against them no matter what anybody else says.
Yeah.
And so enough water, I don't know how you write an ordinance around
Right.
what does enough water mean when the experts are saying there is and other people are going, I'm afraid.
Yeah. Okay.
So it just comes down to a kind of well, and we disavowed it. The city planning commission said no.
And then the council.
And then the council went by the criteria and listened to the other person, voted yes. So.
Okay.
Can I make a comment in regards to that? Part of the issue is the outside districts when it comes to water.
Yeah.
And that has been a sore thumb for a long time and it still hasn't been corrected.
Not corrected, it's not a sore thumb. We need to sell that water so that your water rates aren't through the roof.
Yeah.
If we pull the plug on them, the
No,
town.
I'm not
town
talking
can't
about
afford it.
getting rid of them. I'm talking about the contracts. That part's been a sore thumb because it's dragging on and on and on
To
to
renew the
get those
contract.
contracts updated.
Okay, no,
I don't think that's correct.
And
It's
so
not
that they're
updating it.
abide by it.
I think the issue with the water is that the outside water is considered surplus water, which we are
Right.
selling. And we cannot change that surplus, so we can't say that we don't have enough water, but then we're selling it to the outside.
right.
That's where we're getting the catch, where we
That's right,
can, these people have been for 30 years getting outside water. And so they would have to cut that off before we could say we had no water.
Well,
Mary, there's your intro of the water.
What?
That's your intro of the concern around water. That was a very good encapsulation of the situation.
Well, and when I landed this house in Yamhill, more than one person said, oh, you're going to be every Tuesday, Thursday will be your day to water and all this kind of stuff. And I said, oh, I've lived in St. Helens. They did that too. You know, if you get too hot, you're regulating who's
Yeah.
using water when.
The question is, how frequently does it happen?
Yeah,
And, yeah, and I think the summer that the subdivision I'm living in, when that came in, it was one of the summers that it happened.
Yeah.
So, all right, well, I don't think water stability is something that we can really tackle then, really from our vantage. My first thought is financial sustainability. I can't think of anything that we would have any say in there. Emergency management. Do we have anything in our code regarding emergency services or anything like that? Just,
Other than the particular land use, no.
okay. So public safety, again, that's probably not really us. Communication is kind of a
Well,
general.
public safety, we
Public
get,
safety?
like with the gas station. The traffic.
Oh, traffic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it was broad. People would say that traffic and there were other concerns about fumes and all these things.
Yeah.
Been brought up under the public safety, and again, people have concerns. The experts tell us it meets
Standard.
the standards. But public safety was brought up, and we did a good job getting that corner of that building sawed off so that you could see around that stop sign. Yeah. So it did come up.
Yeah, that's true.
how do we classically communicate to the public?
From a planning commission standpoint, we had the meetings once a month. And then, I think it's up in the newsletter, probably. Yeah, well, how does the city communicate stuff? Anybody?
As well, okay.
Okay.
Communicating stuff, I mean, I update the website regularly.
So, do we post around town anything, like the bulletin board thing over here?
I post the agendas for all the meetings everywhere.
So that's kind of
Okay.
what we do.
I just want to know what the system was that's in place.
I didn't know if there was something I didn't know. Those are all things I knew about, but I wasn't sure there was more. Maybe I didn't know about. The Parks Master Plan, we've talked about that already. So I think that's something moving forward that we will be on our plate in the coming year. Livability is kind of a general item, but you know, the lighting ordinance was an example of a livability ordinance. So is there anything else that falls under that livability category that you guys can think of that we need to address?
Traffic, crosswalks, not really a thing we can do anything about. Livability, what else is livability? Neighborhood, we're concerned about, we have some ordinances around too many B&Bs. We're not there yet, but we talk about how many there can be, so that it remains a neighborhood that's not just a bunch of, that isn't so transient and
Right.
people kind of know who their neighbors are.
Yeah.
What else? Livability, it's a big issue.
Yeah.
Is there anything spoken or is an ordinance having to do with Airbnbs?
I'm sorry, when I said Airbnb, I meant to say, well, okay, bed and breakfast, Airbnb, no, Airbnb. We do have,
We just addressed that in the code a little bit, didn't we? Walt, do you remember?
That was my understanding. I put something together for the commission and recommending that these be processed through the municipal code and not Title 10. So was that ever passed or authorized? I'm not too sure, but I did put something together.
it's at the same time we were talking about taxing that as well.
I-
Is that
Right.
Taxed.
Yeah, the transient lodging tax
Yeah.
did, but I'm not sure, I'd have to check on if there was any regulations.
Around like density, how many you could have per
Yeah.
block.
I know we discussed it, I just don't remember.
We talked about absent landlord, how far away could they live? And I don't know if that became ordinance or not.
Yeah, I know the planning commission looked at it. I provided information. And I think it moved on to the council. My recommendation for something like that is to keep it out of planning. I've talked to attorneys about that as well. It's like, that's
Maybe
really,
that's what we did.
I think so.
Send it together, we said, we like this, what do you think?
That might be it. This is a hotel tax issue, not a land use.
Right.
And, but like the density of, like we talked about, like amount per city block or
Right.
whatever.
You could still put that as part of a municipal issue instead of
Oh, okay.
a land use. It really ties together. I worked on the one in Halem, and that is in the municipal code. They have a little thing in the land use ordinance that says you may operate a B and B in this zone, but, or Airbnb, subject to municipal code number, whatever. So it shifts the burden over to the municipal code as
Okay.
opposed to the land use ordinance.
And can you refresh my memory? Municipal code goes through city council, right? And that's it.
Yes, everything goes through council for
Does it come-
resolution and ordinances. That's all council final
It
decision.
doesn't come through us first, though.
Yes, it does.
Well, if it's related to titles 10 and 11, yes, it does go through you folks or the comprehensive plan. Absolutely.
So it has not been outlawed in the county or the city at the present time.
No.
True, I don't think we would outlaw it, we would regulate it.
Because where I live, we stopped it.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I don't think there
You're
was.
living on an island and your input is a lot of tourists.
Yeah.
Is your economy.
Yeah.
6 months a year.
Yeah,
But neighborhoods were being overrun and they were ending up business neighborhoods,
yeah.
not neighborhoods. So it was a big
A big issue.
brouhaha and San Juan County just came down.
None, not
So-
regulated, not a certain number per, just
No.
zero.
Wow.
They
Wow.
stopped, they grandfathered people who were there
Okay.
and then stopped it. That's the process that was in place in 22.
Yeah,
As somebody who sat for 4 years on the budget committee, I will assure you that the tax ratio was passed, but there was no ordinance to enforce it and no ordinance to control it.
Hmm.
okay.
Ratio for taxes on houses is what the budget,
Yeah,
not, they're talking about VRBOs. And Airbnbs.
Like an addition, a transient tax on those.
Mm-hmm.
That was passed.
Was it passed?
Yeah.
It seemed like it was.
Yeah.
My recollection.
It was.
The tax was, the regulations for short terms, I don't recall there being an ordinance for that.
Yeah.
So maybe it was put on hold and you guys just went ahead with the tech, because you guys were recommending it to them.
Yeah,
I would have to, it's been about a year, so I would have to look it up and see.
Another interesting question that I have is, anything speaks to food trucks? They're quite an industry.
I don't think we have anything currently, do we?
Not unless it came up during the code rewrite.
we have one, the coffee shop could be considered a food, it's kind of a mobile. Right, it's not your, we think of as a food truck, it's a coffee.
Yeah,
hut, but
I think
it's-
that's not what I'm speaking of.
Okay,
That's not on wheels and can move on Tuesday, this location, next to the football field on Friday night. That's what I'm talking about.
So I'm not sure, well, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm not sure if mobile food trucks, where they come and go into the bit, is really part of the planning commission.
It can be, because this is temporary use action. In other words, you want to have some control in the sense of you don't want 20 to congregate without having a bathroom nearby,
right.
things like that. Some cities go as far as saying there has to be a water connection or fire hydrant nearby. A number of cities have done it very well, and there are these food truck pods. And so I have one not too far from where I live. But okay, but be that as it may, you may want to consider that. It's if you're not being inundated, don't take on more work than you think. But by the same token, if there's an interest, you may want to consider some regulations, and that can be done through land use. And generally, these are done as temporary permits. You're welcome to park the truck here for as long as you need, and you have to renew the license. So there's a licensing factor too. So it might be well worth considering. Just a
But
thought.
I kind of feel a little bit like it's the Airbnb thing where, we have two in town, if I remember right. Two Airbnbs. The food truck thing, I don't think we've ever had one in town that I've been aware of. The only time I could see it happening is maybe Derby Days or some of those events, we might start seeing it. So the question becomes, is this something we need to be proactive about? Or is this something we could
Do we
be?
want to get ahead of it, or are we solving a problem that doesn't
That's
exist?
it.
And I don't know the answer, but maybe the Airbnb is one that is maybe a little bit closer than
But,
the
I mean,
food truck.
We are doing a brainstorm thing and that's part of it, just
Yes.
throwing out ideas.
Yes, it only takes one person who says, I'd like to do this, and I have two different food trucks, and I would, we need to, I think, take a look at that. Ahead.
On livability, we passed the formula business
Oh, yeah.
regulations, so that's a nice little accomplishment. Mary, are you familiar with that? That we didn't want kind of corporate, Starbucks moving in with Starbucks signs and McDonald's arches and just that kind of a feel. We wanted to have control over the look that it matched what we already have. So we have regulations around the signs. They can't just necessarily bring in their corporate logos and put up the big thing, so we don't look like a strip mall. So we have some ordinances in place around that.
I'm kind of trying to figure out, after returning here after 50 years, what our look is.
Right, some people ask, you want a
That's been a common question.
It looks like it looks like the town looks like, which building do you want it to look like?
Yeah.
And mostly just paint it brown and you'll be okay. Yeah.
And I don't know how this would work as far as incorporating it into the building portion of it or whatever, the gas station over here. The two flags that they have out there. Those are stationary. They can't move them. And the only reason that I know that is because I came from the post office one day and the flag on the corner where the building was cut off was flying straight out this way. I was trying to see if a car was coming from my right. And because that flag was out there, I was past, the nose of my car was past the crosswalk and almost into the traffic.
Okay.
So that might be something in the future for anybody. And I actually went over there and I asked the gal, I said, is there any possibility of you pushing that concrete block back? And she said, no, it's in there.
It's drilled into the sidewalk.
And I said, really? I said, well, you can't see when that flag is, flying in this direction. I said, you cannot see past it to the right.
So that might be a topic, is. So it's in the sidewalk right away, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's, I
So
mean,
I'm
it's
just wondering if that's something we
Right
should.
away, I don't know. The right away is, they own that property.
yeah, but it's in the sidewalk.
But
So sidewalk ordinances,
Um,
like putting signs and stuff in the sidewalk, is that something that we could?
boy, I tell you,
I didn't know it was attached.
I didn't
assumed-
either.
I assumed it was,
no, my thinking is if it's in the sidewalk, it's in the public right of way.
yeah.
I can't imagine doing work within the public right of way unless you have authorization to do so. So, yeah, just a thought.
Yeah, I think that would be something to bring up next week.
That defeats what we did there.
Oh, yeah. Well, and I was wondering, just from a, I'm gonna throw out the aesthetic standpoint. They're kind of ugly, but my concern is actually that if the business is putting things in the sidewalk that can't move, that's the concern.
And I
If
don't
it's
like
a
it.
temporary sandwich.
Yeah, there's
sign,
two of them. There's
it-
two of them that are out
Yeah.
there.
So the sandwich board thing, I could kind of see putting it out, but you take it in. But
Now, they might, I don't know, but, so, here's the building,
they might own.
they
that.
might own this,
They might,
but they can't block it.
right. So
Yeah, you can-
is it sitting in there?
It's right there.
Oh, yeah.
It looks like it's on that.
So then
It
it
could be
may,
theirs.
so Walt, that sounds like it may be on their property and not in the public right of way. But the visibility, it's blocking the visibility of that.
That's a clear vision violation then.
Okay,
Does this city own 36 inches of sidewalk?
I don't know that.
Excuse me.
yeah. I'm not sure
The
whether,
first 36 inches?
I don't know what it is.
It could vary depending on the right of way width. Also bear in mind on Main Street, we're looking at a state highway,
Right.
Main Street, excuse me, Maple Street. We're looking at a state highway, and I'm not too sure what the right of way width would be. Might even be 80 feet. So I can't say. Generally, sidewalks are 5 feet in width in this day and age.
Okay. I think it's a good topic maybe to bring up for next week that might need to address.
Right away is one thing. Sometimes you own the middle of the street, well, right?
It depends. Well, in the old maps, assessor maps I've looked at, the property ownership went to the middle of the street way back when the road was dedicated for public purposes. That was limited, and the property is to the edge of the right-of-way line. So yeah, I've seen old assessor maps where everyone owned to the middle of the street, but that's not the case now.
I've got a property marker in the middle of Mount Richmond Road. And when they grade too deep, they hit it. So that's out in the county though.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say, it's probably a difference between the city and the county, but. All right, so then there's additional priorities. I think downtown revitalization, we've talked about that. Infrastructure improvements. I think our new code addresses things that would impact that. Community engagement, I think that's a city council task. Historic preservation, is there anything around the historic preservation, Walt, in our code that we should address?
Well, I'd have to look through the comprehensive plan on that. You do not have an historic preservation ordinance, if I recall. Not so much an ordinance. You don't have a section for historical buildings within the development code. So that might be something to consider. I can't recall if there's a lot of historic structures in the community, or I should say designated historic structures. I'd have to look at the plan a little closer.
I know there are a few, but.
Chairman?
Yeah.
I have resolution R-828. A resolution authorizing the City of Yamhill Economic Development Committee to conduct research on designating the City of Yamhill Central Business District as a historic district. And it goes on to say that establishing a historic district enables the preservation of historic buildings, play an important role in the revitalization of downtown and other neighborhoods within the city of Oregon. It's pretty comprehensive.
Yeah.
And it goes into a lot of detail.
Okay.
The chief, when he was the city manager, did that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Remember that.
And
Does the county have a historic preservation specialist, or is that a state function?
That is the State Historical Preservation Office,
Okay,
otherwise known as SHPO.
okay, so the Economic Development Committee is putting stuff together to see what we can do to get that
That's
designation.
part of it.
Right. So I guess one of the, if there's anything from, that we can help to support that effort, that would be the question.
It's true.
From a court ordinance standpoint. So that would be the only other thing I could think of.
So we back up to,
Yeah.
community engagement. Isn't it, who is it, is it Jenny? There's a committee that tries to have, that has social functions. Who is that?
Is that, I think it's the Downtown Association, right?
Down-
The YDA trivia and bingo night at the Larson House
Okay,
for fundraising.
and who are the women that drive that?
Jenny Morrison
Jenny, yeah.
and Kara Weber. and I
Kara.
don't know the other lady's name.
Okay, and is that under the economic development? Yeah, the way,
So Jenny is involved in both the
Yes.
economic development and the YDA.
and so is Kara.
Or is not on the economic development, but she is on YDA.
Well, maybe she used to be.
I think they come in frequently together and they
Yeah.
talk about similar topics.
Okay, thank you. So Mary, there's more of the lay of the land out there.
Yeah.
Who's doing what?
So I think a lot of what's gonna drive the things we work on in the next year is gonna be some of those other, the Economic Development Committee and what their needs are. So I see us being a support role for them when they come up with things to do. So I got about 8 little bullet items just to,
Historic preservation, one of them.
historic preservation being the last one.
Great, I'd like to go back to lighting, find out.
Add that to
That's less livability.
yeah.
What's going on? It sounds like state regulations were impacting that. Is that something you know about, Wolf?
No, I'm still kind of confused exactly where everything is with regard to the lighting. The only thing I recall with the state is that they obviously have control over Maple Street, and anything when you see 240, that's not a state, that's a county road.
I think they're both state
Yeah,
highways.
Okay, both state, okay. That's the extent that they can basically say no if we say yes. So that's the extent of it. I just don't recall anything particular in state law that says you can't have these. In fact, when we started this, I used the city of Sisters as an example of a dark sky community. And I think I read somewhere recently they won a national award for their efforts to create the dark sky community. So, it sort of added a little gold star to the community. So again, it just depends what the city wants. I think one way or the other, if I could suggest that the commission and council figure out which way they want to go with that. Do they really want it when all is said and done? And is it worth continuing and pursuing and refining? Just a comment.
So what I understand is part of the reason why the city didn't want to approve it, or council or whoever, is because of it's all associated with the streetlights, the lights within the city. And I'm thinking the streetlights didn't have anything to do with it, did they?
In the end, we took that out.
We took it out.
That's what I
We
thought.
sent it back to them and now they haven't passed it, so we're wondering.
So I think it should be addressed again or looked at, reviewed.
Yeah.
Because
Okay, we'll bring it up and the council will be there, but what are you guys doing?
What's the concern?
Okay, good.
So let me just read the 9 bullet things I wrote down here. So the downtown, ways of distincting our downtown area, building design guidelines, aesthetics, what does look mean, that kind of thing. I guess I wrote Main Street, but really that kind of falls under that same umbrella, I guess. But supporting the Main Street effort. Park master plan, traffic safety, if there's anything that ordinance wise that comes out of the TGM, if we ended up having that. Airbnb density regulations as a possibility, food truck regulations as a possibility, visibility concerns about sidewalks, signs and flags, historic preservation, and then the lighting ordinance. That sound like a good summary? So when we get together next week, we'll have a list of things that we might be able to speak to. Agreed?
Great.
Sound like
Right, just for my own curiosity, is everybody gonna be able to make next Wednesday or not?
I plan to be there.
Is that the meeting on the 30th you're talking
Yes.
about?
we check my schedule.
And right after I told you that worked for me, I have a conflict, but I'm canceling my conflict. I'll just let my wife know.
We're in trouble.
Yeah. Of course, right after I sent that email, she's like, well, I kind of thought we'd do this. Well, you didn't tell me this. So,
We just went through the same thing with meeting with Shay. And then, because my husband was supposed to be home and then he had to change his days off. So then I had to cancel the appointment that was coming because he wasn't gonna be there.
Tell my wife to be a short meeting. I'd be home by 7:30.
that's, I think we're done. So
Okay.
is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll move. To adjourn.
I'll second it.
Adjourn. Thank you.
I have two little questions.
Yeah. Welcome, Mary.
From tonight's meeting. Who does final building inspection?